Who's your emergency contact? Who should we notify in the case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades of my life. I left Atwater in April, the first week of April, but I ended up staying in Oklahoma for about a month. I don't know why it took so long for me to catch the plane to the SMU program, but at the same time, I was fortunate. Before I went to the SMU program, that program was 18 months long, but on May 1st, they changed it to 9 months because nobody was ever getting out of the SMU, and the shit was getting overcrowded. When you get a shot in the SMU, they call it day 1, phase 1. You have to be there through the whole time without getting a shot. If you get a shot for any reason, they're going to set you back day 1, phase 1. There's 4 stages: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and by the time you get to phase 4, you're pretty much on your way back to population. So in May 1st of 2016, Obama changed the program to 9 months. Now, when on my way to the SMU, I met a couple white boys that I was one of them, Paul, out of Florida, that I was in Atwater with, and then I met this dude named Ghost from AC, Aryan Circle. We were all going, they just came from Pollock, and we were all going to the SMU. And me and Paul knew each other from Victorville, so we chopped it up, but they had already heard about the riot in Atwater, and they were asking me about what happened. They heard about my participation in it, and so on. Like, there's no secrets in the penitentiary. You might not know all the details of whatever, but when a major incident happens, words get around through all the penitentiary, especially if it's involving organized groups, because they have their own line of communication that they're able to pass messages and give their people's heads up and whatnot. Even though we're behind a wall, life still goes on. And we still got to survive in our environment. We still got to do what we got to do. And at the same time, at all times, we have a responsibility to our prospective group to always make sure they're in the best position to protect themselves. So when we get to the SMU, like I said, Ghost was telling me he's from Aryan Circle. This is his 3rd trip to the SMU. And he was telling me, hey, when he first got there, when the bus pulled up, these COs put on their turtle suits and come in and beat a motherfucker up and drag him off the bus. I don't know if that's accurate, but before I left Atwater, I met a native bro that was in the shoe with me. He was already out of the SMU for 6 months. This guy lifted up his shirt, and on his skin, on his belly, there was a permanent scar on where the belly chain was at. He had gotten to it with the CO. They had black boxed him. When they put a belly chain on him, black boxed him, shackled him, and threw him in the dungeon. But they had that belly chain on him so tight and they left him there for days, to where the metal ate his skin. And 6 months later, when I ran into him, he had a permanent scar. And you could see the chain link wrapping around his waist and his belly. You could see the imprint of a chain link. So that shit was on there tight, and that shit was some painful shit for the metal to eat up your skin, fester, get infected, and leave a permanent scar. Before I went to the SMU, I always hear horror stories about that place. And I already know my situation, that I don't ever get any favors or get any, better treatment because of my assault on staff. Having that case on my jacket always ends up getting my, I always end up, getting put in a trick bag, or at least they attempt to try to put me in a trick bag. And then when I got to the Smooth, it was no different. Luckily for me and everybody else on the bus, they didn't come in with their turtle suit and beat us up and drag us off the bus. They just called us out, put us all in individual cages. Once you're designated to the Smooth, every time you come out of your cell, you're handcuffed, shackled, and belly chained. For 2 years, I never knew what it was like to walk around without restraints. The only time you're not restrained is when you're in your cell, or when they lock you in the shower. And the shower, again, is just a cage big enough for you to stand in. And all through Lewisburg, in the hallways, they got those single cages that, for whatever, they put you in there and lock you and secure you in there. So, every facility you go to, you go through the review, the SIS come and talk to you, who you are, who you're affiliated with, who you can house with, and all that. For me, I don't say a lot. I mean, if you look at me, you can tell for the most part that I'm Asian. And if you look at my jacket and read my case, then you know I'm Asian Islander. So they're supposed to always try to put me with my prospective group, because there's policies amongst the convicts, amongst the inmates, amongst the prisoner, however you want to classify them, that we don't house with different races or different gangs or certain groups. When in the beginning in the Smooth, when I got there, the Smooth was an 18-month program. So it's like 6-month phase 1, 4-month phase 2, 4 months phase 3, 4 months, however, phase 4 or whatever. But like I said, once you get to phase 4, you're already being inserted back into population. Phase 1 and 2, you're locked in your cell 23 hours a day. You get rec 3 to 4 times a week from Monday through Friday. But rec is not guaranteed. If something happens in another block, or if they don't feel like giving you rec that day, you're not going to get rec. So you gotta be resigned that you're just gonna be in your freaking cell day in and day out all day long. Somebody wanted me to touch on the programs in the Smooth, and I will as we get further into the week. But it's not a program. There's no program that exists in the Smooth that is going to help you as a person to be better. The only program you have, the only program that you can rely on is yourself. You get plenty of time to contemplate your situation. So it's up to you to figure out what you're going to do with yourself. But these programs that they put in place, it's all fake. It's all just for funding. And as we continue, you'll see. So I get processed, I get interviewed, and they're taking me up to my cell. They put me in a D block, the first cell I go to on the 3rd floor. Well, they put me in there, and the guy that's standing on the other side of the door in the cell is a white dude, about 6'6", skinny white dude. I know I'm not supposed to be in that cell. But like I said, I'm never going to refuse to go into a cell or to go into a cage. The CO's that's holding me, he's looking at me, waiting to see what I'm going to say. Me, I'm not going to refuse. I know what they're up to. So, whatever. Anyway, they cuffed the dude up. They unlocked the door. They put me in there. He comes through the door and gets his cuff uncuffed first. Then I get my cuff uncuffed. They secure the tray slot and they leave. And this guy is a tall white dude. You know, my thing was like, man, I hope they didn't put me in here with no fucking sex offender or a rat, because I'm not gonna live with a sex offender or a rat. And I'm not gonna bang on the door and tell the CO to come and remove me out of that cell. So my only alternative is to get into it with this dude. But at the same time, I'm not just gonna jump the gun and take off on this dude just because he's a white dude. You know, I don't know anything about him. So after our cuffs were removed, after the CO left, I asked the dude, I said, hey, you got any issue with me being in the cell? Because for me, I can sell you up with anybody. But the whites, they have a policy that they can't sell you up with other races. So for him to accept me as his cellie, he's already in violation. Unless he was already, like, not in the community, you know, in the white community. So I chopped it up with him. He said, nah, I ain't got no problems. Whatever, you being in the cell. I said, listen, man, you know you're white and I'm Asian and we're not supposed to be in a cell together. He's like, yeah. I said, I don't know your shit, but here's my paperwork. I give him my paperwork. You know, I was able to transport with all my stuff, not my box. You know, when you go in, they process your property, you know, check your property in or whatever. You can't keep anything anymore, but you can keep, I think, 2 books, your radio, a clock, and your paperwork. You know, because a lot of people that's in the SMU program are still fighting their case. So I had my little PSI with me. I gave it to him, and in return, he gave me his. You know, he got busted for transporting weed across state line. He's from out of California, from Frisco, California, you know, to be exact. And I'm, you know, for me, I've been around long enough to know that there's something wrong as far as him and the white boys, because he's not going to accept somebody in his cell knowing that he can get beat up for it. Because the white boys catch up to him, even though I'm good, even though there's nothing wrong with me, their policy is they don't allow their race to house with any other race. So by him accepting me in his cell, he's already putting himself in jeopardy. You know, but it's late. We got over there, you know, about 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. And by the time I got to the cell, it was already nighttime. So we just chopped it up. He gave me his paperwork. I gave him mine. We both read each other's paperwork. And he wasn't a rat. He wasn't a sex offender or anything like that. But as we're talking, I'm on the top bunk. He's walking back and forth. I see a tattoo on his back. It says, GBG, right? So I asked him, I said, what's that on your neck? He goes, oh, that's my gang. I said, yeah. I said, what does GBG stand for? He looks up at me. Well, he's tall, so he didn't really have to look up. I'm on the top bunk. He looks at me, and he's like, you really want to know? I said, yeah, I asked the question. Yeah. He goes, oh, it stands for a gay boy gangster out of Frisco. That's the first one I ever ran into. I never knew there was such a gang, but he's from Gay Boy Gangster. I guess in San Francisco, they have a gang full of gays. You know, and he told me the history of their gang, that they formulated, it became a gang, an entity, because they were tired of getting gay bashed by all these straight dudes or whatever when they're leaving a bar or hanging out or whatever. So they formed a gang called Gay Boy Gangster. And then he went through, through all the different penitentiaries that he's been on. Like I said, I read his case. There was nothing foul about him as far as telling on a case or being a sex offender. You know, the stigma that he had that he was a homosexual. And the white boys, they don't accept that or allow that. So every yard he gets on, he ends up getting into it or getting jumped or getting beat up or whatever because he's gay. And he's not denying that he's gay or whatever. But anyway, you know, it's late in the evening. It's late. So the next day, we're going to go out for rec. Well, our neighbor is a couple Mexican dudes, right? And I guess the night before or a couple weeks before I got there, the dude was getting ready to go on phase 3. But one of the COs said that they smelled smoke coming out of his cell. And they said that he lit a fire in his cell too. Like, you know, we light fires to cook our coffee. But if the COs catch you with that flame, they're going to write you up. And if you get a write-up, you start over, day 1, phase 1. So he got written up for, according to the CO, that he had lit a fire. But according to him, he swore up and down that he didn't do it. So the next day when they call us out to rec, me and myself, we go out to rec. But our neighbor, our Mexican neighbors, they stay there. You know, and so while we're out at rec, this is my first day on the yard. I go out to rec, and I knew half of the freaking people in the SMU. You know, the CO's escorting me, and he's walking me through between the cages, and everybody's like, "Hey, what's up, Mesa? What's up? Oh, they finally got your ass, huh? They finally got your ass." So the CO's looking at me. He's like, "Oh, you're pretty popular, huh?" Yeah. But, you know, everybody that I knew that was in Atwater and Lompoc, man, it seemed like we all end up in the SMU. And there's a reason for that. They have this program they put in place. They want bodies. So when they first open it up, it don't matter what's going on. Don't matter what kind of shot you got. If they could smooth you, they were smoothing you. And when they put you in the smooth, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be accepted. And it was just crazy because there was dudes that I haven't seen in 10 years, 5 years. Everybody that left Atwater, it seemed, ended up in the SMU. You know? So while we're out in the rec cage, they just got me and the white boy in a cage by ourselves. You know, the rec cage, they put 6 people in, 3 cells to a rec cage. So 6 people in each cage. So when they just put me in there with him and nobody else, you know, my antenna, you know, I started like, I probably shouldn't be in this cell with this guy because his people is not accepting him. And I'm still in good standing with my people. And I don't want it to be known that I'm sitting there in a cell with some dude that's fucked up. But he's not fucked up as far as his paperwork or being a sex offender or even like a jailhouse rat or anything like that. The only reason that his people, the whites, aren't accepting him because he's a homosexual. So there was a couple of homie IG or GI that was from the Bay that was in Atwater with me. He was in a cage next to me. A couple other Mexicans that was on the other side was in the cage next to me. And they were just explaining, letting me know that, hey, what's up with this dude? He's like, man, he ain't a bad dude. He ain't fucked up or anything, but this is why, but he can't be in a cage with any whites or anybody because he's gay or whatever. And also, because he's white, they're not going to put him in a cage, rec cage with other people, with other races. Like I said, the reason they put me in his cell was they were hoping that I get beat up or that I beat him up. Either way, they were hoping one of us get fucked up, but mainly because of me, hoping that I was going to get fucked up because the dude's like 6'6" because of the assault on staff. But I'm used to having these COs try to put me in these trick bags. And I'm not going to allow them to force my hand to beating somebody up that I don't know, never met, and as far as his paperwork checks out, he's good. Listen, I don't give a fuck what your sexuality is. I don't care what you do. Me, I only care if you're a rat or if you're a sex offender. If you're either one of those things and you're in my cell, I don't care what race you are. I'm going to find a way to punish you. If you're too big for me to go head up with you, I'm gonna wait till you asleep. Or I'm gonna wait till you do push-ups. Like, for me, when it comes to confrontations, there's only one rule, and that rule is to win. So I'm not fearful of my encounters because I'm gonna find a way to win. But I'm not gonna allow these staffs, these COs, these SIS to put me in harm's way because they're butthurt that I knocked out one of their COs. So I don't have an issue with this white dude. But at the same time, I know that I can't stay with him for too long. But while we're out there having this conversation, in our block, in D block, you can see smoke coming out of the chimney. Somebody had lit the freaking place on fire, their cell on fire, and you can see the smoke, and it was our neighbor. You know, the neighbor that I just told you, the Mexican dudes that said that that the CO was rolling up for lighting a fire. But he was adamant about, hey, I didn't light no fire. You guys are giving me a shot and making me start this program all over. Well, fuck you. I'm gonna burn the cell down. Which is self-inflicting because you're stuck in a cell and you're lighting your sheet, your books, everything that's flammable. You fucking set all that shit on fire where you can't escape it. I've been caught in a fire before, and the fire is not gonna kill you. It's that smoke. That smoke getting into your lung. It's gonna burn your shit. Man, you getting fucked up from that smoke. But, you know, you ask, oh, why would he do that? I mean, all he's doing is harming himself. But it gets to a point where when you know you haven't done anything and you keep getting mistreated or these fucking punks are lying on you as far as staffs go, you have no other outlet to exercise your frustration other than do something to make these staffs, the CEOs come in on you. Because now these CEOs got to pop that door open and they got to come and extract you out of that cell. You know, but before they come in, even though your cell's on fire, they're going to shoot you with mace. They're going to shoot you with beanbag. They're going to subdue you because they don't want to come in that cell and risk getting stabbed or beat up by you. You know, we were out there. You can see the smoke coming out of the chimney. And everybody out in the red cage already know that this dude is finna get fucked up. You know? So it takes them, we were out there for about 2 hours because it took them that, you know, your rec is only an hour. But because of the incident, we were out there a lot longer. And finally, they bring us back into the unit. When we come in, the unit, I mean, the tier is a mess. You can still smell the smoke. That shit gets, you know, burns your lung. You can smell the OC that they sprayed the dudes in the cell with. And there's foam everywhere from the fire extinguisher, you know. You know, for me, when I come back in and get put back in my cell, I'm just like, damn, they fucking sent me to a nut house. This is what I gotta look forward to for the next 9 months. And the 9 months is only if I don't catch a shot. Because once I catch a shot, it goes back to day one, phase one, and I gotta start the program all over. And there was a lot of people while I was there that's been there 2-3 years. And if you can't make it after your third cycle, they label you as a smooth failure. And if you fail the smooth program, you can't pass the smooth program with 3 tries, then you automatically go to ADX. Welcome to the USP.